Hello and welcome to a new episode of Counter Currents. In this episode, we are going to talk about the Great Mughals. We are going to analyze why the Mughals were able to create such a vast empire and such a successful empire in such a short period of time. As with all episodes in Counter Currents, this is going to be a very objective analysis of the Mughals. The Mughal Empire was founded by Babur in 1526. He ruled from 1526 to 1530, and during his time, the Mughal Empire was limited to parts in and around Delhi. He unfortunately died at a very young age in 1530, and his son Humayun took over and became the emperor in 1530, and he went on to rule the Mughal Empire from 1530 to 1540. However, in 1540, he was forced out of the country or out of the empire by Sher Shah Suri, who declared himself king, and Humayun had to spend the rest of the years, 1540 to 1555, in exile in Persia. He came back after the death of Sher Shah Suri in 1555 to assume the Mughal throne, but unfortunately for him as well, he died in 1556 at a pretty young age of 47, while he was in his library and he tripped and fell from the stairs of the library. His son Akbar was just 14 years old in 1556 and he became the emperor at that young age. He went on to rule the kingdom from 1556 to 1605, which was pretty much 50 odd years. He was the foundational member, I feel, of the Mughal Empire, and he laid the foundation for one of the greatest empires in the world. His son Jahangir, he ruled for 22 odd years from 1605 to 1627. And his son Shah Jahan went on to rule from 1628 to 1658 for another 30 odd years. Shah Jahan, as you all may know, is the emperor who basically commissioned the creation of the Taj Mahal. And he also did not kind of expand the empire, but he consolidated the empire that he inherited from his father, though there was some expansion. His son, however, Aurangzeb, who ruled from 1658 to 1707 for 50 odd years, he kind of drifted a little bit away from his forefathers, and he moved into a strategy of expansion rather than containment and consolidation, and he expanded the Mughal Empire into the Deccan regions. This ultimately resulted in weakening the empire, but in this episode we will just focus on the Great Mughals, who are these 6 different Mughals are considered the Great Mughals, and we'll specifically talk about Akbar, who ruled for 50 years and who laid the foundations for what would be one of the greatest empires in the world. After these 6 Mughals, there were plenty of Mughals who came, but they were very little known about them and they actually were not as successful. So in this episode, we're going to focus primarily on Akbar and his administration and administrative policies that led to the creation of one of the greatest empires in the world. As you know, in medieval India was divided into various small kingdoms that were constantly fighting and bickering with each other, especially in the North India, Rajputana region. Most of the kingdoms during that time, the biggest enemies they had were their own neighbors. They had the fear of being attacked by their neighbors. They had the fear of being attacked by their own relatives. So Akbar created a policy called as Watan Jagir, which is more or less like a syndicate, wherein once you basically become part of that syndicate, you get protection from any attacks. Example, let's say a kingdom became part of the Mughal syndicate called Watan Jagir. They would be protected from attack from any other adversary. Like if an adversary attacked them, the Mughal might would be behind that particular kingdom, which is part of the syndicate, right? The Mughal Empire also ensured that the designated successor would basically, become the heir to the throne, or there was always peaceful transfer of power. Mughal Empire ensured that if they became part of the syndicate, right? So this ensured, right, the legitimacy of the legitimate heirs becoming the successors, right? So there is a peaceful transfer of power. So everybody wanted to become part of the syndicate, right? So when they became part of the syndicate, it was easy for them because they could easily pass their power on to their chosen, kids or their chosen people. And in return, the Mughal emperor required few things from them. One was a visit to the imperial court once every year, just once every year, wherein the kingdom that was part of the syndicate would have to pay homage to the emperor and reinforce their loyalty to the Mughal empire. If the emperor who was part of the syndicate was old and weak, he could actually send his replacement, or he could send somebody in his place to represent his empire or his kingdom. In return, they would also get the privilege to collect taxes on behalf of the imperial court or the Mughal empire, and they can keep a portion of it and transfer a portion to the Mughal emperor, right? So this policy of Watan Jagir, right, wherein a lot of these kingdoms, they became part of the Mughal syndicate, especially the entire Rajputana area inside, which was constantly at fight and with each other, they actually became part of this Mughal syndicate called Watan Jagir. And this heralded an era of peace. This era of peace resulted in some of the greatest monuments that humankind has built getting created during that time. Like, for example, the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, the Fatehpur Sikri, and so on, right? India also, or the territory that was held by the Mughals, which was pretty much kind of most of North India and good part of present day what is Pakistan, and almost all of Pakistan and what is good part of present day Afghanistan, was part of India. And it was the region with the highest GDP in the world. The flourishing of arts and culture was there. East India Company and Portuguese was already present at that time, but they couldn't do much. There were few revolts against the emperors. Like, for example, if you look at Jahangir, who was the son of Akbar, he ruled for 22 years and he doesn't know what is a combat. He has never been in combat. He has never been in a fight. He has never faced any revolt, right? So that is an era of peace that heralded because of the Watan Jagir system that was put forward by Akbar during the medieval times, right? So if you like this video, please share and subscribe and share with your friends. I thank you all for listening. Thank you so much.